you. Ooh,
Oh,
good
thank
color.
you.
All
It felt
right.
quite springy, so I want to bring in the sunshine.
Please do. It's perfect. I love it.
Thanks.
All right, so let's get started. I think it's really awesome that this idea for the film came to you after attending the Cannes Film Festival in 2017. But was it that there was just an overwhelming amount of male-centered action movies and you were just over it? Like what sparked the idea?
It wasn't that I was over it. I was just asking the question of like, well, why not women? I had done Zero Dark 30 and I got to know women who worked in espionage behind the scenes in the shadows and to keep us all safe. And I felt like they weren't getting their proper due in some sense. And I felt like in the past, whenever we would see a female spy movie, it was usually like a sex pot, that was using her sexuality as her form of strength. And sexuality, of course, is a very strong, wonderful thing that we all have, but so is our mind, and so are our skills and our intellect. And I really also wanted to show all facets of women in espionage.
Oh, I love that. And you are definitely a household name in the industry. However, you've always been pretty outspoken about women in the industry, roles for women, treatment for women. But what kind of push do you think is necessary to get films like this to be considered like the norm instead of it being the exception that there's an all-female action cast? It's such a like a wow. But what do you think we got to do to make this just normal?
I think we just have to make them. I mean, years ago, I made a speech at the Critics' Choice Awards about the need for inclusivity in our industry. And then right after that, I was talking to some journalists and they were like, okay, well, what are you going to do now? Like, okay, what are you going to do? And that was something that's like, yeah, we can all say so much, but what are we actually going to do? And I think we have more power than we believe that we have. Sometimes if something hasn't been done, doesn't mean it's not possible. It just means that no one had the idea yet, or no one really had the follow through. I didn't know that I could make a movie from scratch and have the actresses be the owners and all of these incredible things that have happened. But sometimes you just have to have an idea and follow through with it. I always ask myself, it may not be probable, but it's possible. And if it's possible, then you should work toward to make it happen.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. It might not be. I'm gonna keep that. Anyways, I also really love that the film didn't try too hard to make the characters into something that they just weren't. Like everything felt natural and understandable, and including the stunts. They were very aggressive, but also really emotional too. So I was just wondering, did you have to like really pull out your acting chops to be able to do these really vigorous stunts while also depicting strong emotions?
Absolutely. I think when you're making a film and playing a character, no matter what you're doing, you're participating in telling the story. And we didn't want it to feel like we were stopping the storytelling aspect to do a stunt. So we want to be like, how does the story continue through the action? And it could be through stunts, it could be like, it's just the way it is with film. It could be through stunts, it could be through song, it could be through anything. You always are propelling the story forward and the characters forward. So it was important with creating it that everyone had their own unique way of fighting, everyone has their own style, it be based in reality, so it doesn't feel like we're all superheroes. And Jimmy, our stunt coordinator, was wonderful at creating that for all of us.
All
Nice to
right,
meet you.
hello. Nice to meet you, Sebastian. All right, so let's just get started. So you're no stranger to action films and performing like badass stunts, but are there any classes or things you do on your own to get yourself prepared for these kind of roles, or you're like, I got it by now?
I just try to, I just try to stay sane, staying as much as possible. Which part of that does require you to do something physical, I guess, to some extent. So, I don't know. This past year, I really got into running. I hadn't done that in a really long time. I did some running in this movie, and when you do that for take after take, it definitely gets definitely wears on you. But I I think I've been lucky enough to kind of like go from a few jobs to a few jobs with not too long of a time in between. So maybe that keeps me on my toes.
Running is aggressive. I swear it's underrated how hard running is. So I understand.
It can be. You just need a good playlist.
That's true. It changes everything. It's very true. But also I think people are pretty obsessed with the idea of spies. I think we think it's really cool, and we would try to find them in real life. And we'll never really know if you're an actual spy or if you just play one really well. So I just want to know, what is your favorite part of taking on this type of a role?
Um, well, uh, I like exploring, the idea that people, that we all to some extent have to pretend, you know, uh, even just to get coffee, you're still pretending, in a way to maybe say good morning when you're tired and you don't want to say good morning. I mean, there's so again when I think of like spies or whatnot, it's this whole double life thing that why do you want to do that? What makes you want to do that, and how are you managing to control that? Because that's very exhausting, and I would say confusing after a while. And that's another thing in the movie that we look at. The fact that these people are so skilled and strong in so many different ways, but then they're so vulnerable um, because they have to pretend to be other people, and they have to do it so convincingly. So I don't know. I think we always go back to that because there's a way we kind of project that as viewers to some extent, this idea of like, how else would my life be, and how would I do it? And so I don't know. Maybe that's one reason we like that genre.
So I actually think that's might be the reason. Just to have a life that's not your own. But also another amazing fact about or a point in the movie is that they take us international. We get to see Paris, London, Berlin, Morocco, and Shanghai, but you guys don't actually get to go to all those places. So
We
if you
did go to
could,
some of them. We did go
yeah.
to some of them. I mean, like Paris, London, Morocco, definitely had happened, and there was talk of some of the other ones as well. But look, I want to. The more I'm talking about this movie today, the more I'm realizing that we might be one of the movies that has the most diverse language. Like, I want to know how many languages are spoken in our film, because I feel like there's at least six or something. I have to go back and count them, but yeah, it is an international movie, and it is an international story, and there's something very global about it.
So I just spoke with Jessica. Jessica and the director Simon spoke about empowerment being a strong drive behind this film and like feeling international and real. So what was it that drew you to the film and being a part of this cast?
Well, many of those reasons, I love the international aspect of it. I think I love a movie that makes you take a trip to different countries and different cultures, and all of us being, so distinctively from other places. And we were all invited to bring something to our individual characters, help shape them, have ideas that were implemented, about how that character would behave, act, what they would do, where. So that felt really good. So I think when you watch the movie, you can certainly get a sense of the authenticity that each of us have, with that character in particular. And it is an empowering movie because I feel like we as women are represented in a way that seems more honest and is refreshing to see, especially in that kind of genre. So all of those things were great.
Oh, agreed. Everything you said, agreed.
Mm.
And you have been acting, speaking French, English, German for quite some time now. It's kind of your norm. But when you do get the opportunity to speak in German, do you feel more at ease, or does it change anything for you?
Um, Sometimes, I've not done very many movies in my career that allowed me to speak German. Um, when I do, it's obviously a German character, and I do find myself feeling like I know that character without trying, right? Like no matter how hard I try or how good my accent is, I'll never know what it would be like growing up in, I don't know, Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't know. I can pretend I do and act as good as I can and do some research or whatever. But, being German, I get it, so that in that sense, yes. But then what's funny is like in my career here in America, I've always had to try and get rid of my accent, right? Because they wanted me to be able to play American or whatever. And in this movie, I got constantly yelled at for sounding too American, and they're trying to make me have an accent more pronounced. So that was kind of a bit of a mind screw.
Yes, mind screw.
Didn't want to say fuck, so.
And also just the fact that you were able to hop into this physically taxing role after being out on maternity leave is incredible. Were you able to actually perform all the stunts you wanted to, or some where you're like, I can't do this?
No, I was. I mean, I do remember, feeling very deflated after the first week of training, just because I felt like my body wasn't responding as I wanted or like I was used to before having had a kid, right? And I felt really weak, and it was like deflating, and then days pass, and like I have to say the stunt people and the gym people, whoever they got to help us train, were just so encouraging and helpful, and I literally could feel my body responding after, I want to say, the first 10 days, and it was so empowering to come home each week feeling I could kick higher, I could lift heavier, that I was starting to be in control again. In a way, this film was like the best thing, after the baby, so.
Wow. Okay. After 10 days, you felt this good? What
Well,
am I
not that
doing with
good, but
myself?
it was moving in the right direction.
I'm just joking. Thank you so much. That was all my time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.